Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms. And I'm joined here by Sam Schneider, formerly of, do we mention them?
You can.
Formerly of Primetime Sports Talk. He'll be doing stories somewhere else soon. And we have a very special guest, someone who I, ran into and we struck up a conversation and I bought a Ken Riley bobblehead and here he is. The legend, Josh Huffman of CincyBobs.
And happy to be here.
Josh, go ahead and we are really, really happy to have you here. Oh, by the way, this is a pre-training camp edition of Jungle Talk. I forgot to do that. See, we're out of practice. But Josh, tell them a little bit about, because you have an amazing story about how you got started in bobbleheads and everything. So
I do. So my Bengal fandom goes back into the early 90s. I'm 37 years old, so not in the Mecca days. Mark and I were laughing earlier about kind of the generation we grew up in and where we're at. But I've always collected Bengal stuff. My grandfather collected it, passed it to my father to myself. And I have a very extensive collection of Bengal stuff. Some people even locally call me the Collectors. That's how I got the nickname. So,
well, we can see that behind you.
Yeah, that's probably just scratching the surface.
It's pretty clear that what's behind you is just a snippet.
So one of my best friends in the entire world, Hollis Strunk, he's an incredible artist. He does a lot of original Bengals paintings. He does custom bobbleheads, figurines. He can pretty much do it all. Back a few years ago, him and I got together. I always pick this one because this is where it started. I always say, man, how come they never made an Anthony Munoz bobblehead? And this was actually just the head off of it was called Hispanic Mechanic. And this is just like a Klecko body from the Jets. And painted this for me. It's got a picture of Anthony Munoz there. On the back, it says, by Hollis. And he made this Anthony Munoz bobblehead. In the back, it says, by Hollis, one of one. And it was kind of a gift to myself. And throughout the years of our friendship, I would pay him or he would, do birthday and Christmas presents. And I actually have like a collection behind myself of 60 Bengals legends and coaches. Here's one he did of Paul Brown. This is just a
wow, that's awesome.
This is actually the old man off Pawn Stars. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. The old man, the Rick's dad. Yeah.
Yeah, he made it, he made it look like Paul Brown. And my friends, my family, they come over here. We do away games in my basement and watch. And a lot of people have always commented that probably the coolest thing down here is my custom bobblehead collection. And it is very nice, but Hollis and I sat down one day. We said, how can we bring this collection to everyone so everyone can have it, everyone can enjoy it? So I got in contact with Foco, the company that makes like a lot of the retail bobbleheads that we've all seen at the pro shop or that you buy online. And
right.
I asked them, at the time I was interested in Anthony Munoz bobblehead. That's like it all started with him. They never made one. How do you not have a bobblehead of your greatest player of all time?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So they told me at the time they weren't necessarily in the market to do one, but they told me about, I learned a lot about, I had to go through some other facets and learned a lot about franchising rights and how I could, make this a reality. And 9 months later, it took a long time, but 9 months later, we came out with the original CincyBob, Anthony Munoz, officially licensed through Foco, through the Cincinnati Bengals, number 1 of 288.
Right.
Yes, selfishly, I keep number 1 of every product we do.
Absolutely, and you should.
So Josh have guys that were former Bengals seen these bobbleheads? Has Munoz seen his? Has Riley seen his? Has Anderson seen his, etc.?
I'm super glad you asked because that transitions to about every story I have.
That's great. No, that was, he doesn't even know because he didn't talk with us before.
Transition. Yeah. So you're
great
going to learn
segue.
As everyone is. This is perfect segue. So the Anthony Munoz bobblehead was actually done without his knowledge. It, from the bottom of my heart, was no ill kempt towards him. I'm just a fan who loves Anthony Munoz, and I decided that's where I wanted to go with it. So I did the bobblehead basically without his knowledge, not thinking much of it. and we sold it. And then I donated $1,500 to his charity. Well, when I made the donation, that's kind of when he was like, wait a minute, what is this? Like, he was, I don't want to say mad, but he was just like, wow, I would have done this with you. Like, this is great. Like, he loves the bobblehead. And I was like, man, and I felt this big.
He was probably like, we could have quadrupled that money if you did it with
we might have been able to, man. I do regret it, but at the same time, I'm glad it happened because it showed me that there's a market for it, which is important if you're trying to run a business. But more importantly, it's something that these players want to be behind.
Yes.
And I'm trying to basically, this is kind of like my Ring of Honor. This is my way to say, like, these are the players that I loved. You know, I wasn't maybe in their genre where I watched it live, but we're kind of like very lucky to have fortunate like film study from YouTube and all this is at my disposal to watch these games and fall in love with the history of where we are now. So,
well,
you know,
and you were on, if I'm not mistaken, weren't you on Bengal Jim's show?
I was. I met Jimmy,
and Bengal Jim is a huge proponent of former players and trying to get them into the Hall of Fame. And I think that leads directly into you and what you do as well.
Right.
Yes, I absolutely was. And as I mentioned Hollis before, Hollis does these original paintings of these legendary Bengals players. I was hanging out with him and he goes, hey, Bengal Jim's coming. I've never met Jimmy before. He said he's coming to purchase some of my art. And I was like, oh, I'd love to meet Jimmy. So we got to, you know, kind of going through our phones and showing pictures of our man caves and stuff we collect. And he's like, wow, we've got to get together, have a few beers, and I want to see your stuff. So he came down to the man cave, and he's like, this is incredible. He goes, I've never met anyone in my life that their collection was bigger than mine. And we hit it off.
Well,
so
you could check out Mark's man cave, but it's going to take you about 3,500 miles.
So yeah, Jimmy and I did some guest appearances on his show as Josh the Collector, and I would bring like memorabilia onto his show and do like a 10-minute segment. Due to my work restrictions and the hours I work, I only did about maybe 10 shows and had to leave his show, but it ended up transitioning into CincyBobs. So Sam, you had asked about Anthony Munoz. So from that point, I made it a promise to myself, I'll never do another bobblehead without letting the player know or getting them involved in some facet. So I got in contact with Ken Riley Jr. about his father. Right. I sent a case down to Texas where him and his family live, for him and his mother and his family. Tim Crumry's on board. He's actually going to be in our store on August 20th. He's going to sign each and every bobblehead. Ken Anderson is going to sign all 288 bobbleheads.
Where's the store?
So the store is in Fairfield, Ohio. It's Heirloom Framing. Andy Stuckert owns it. They do jersey framing, memorabilia framing. He's now getting into like graphic arts. He does contracts with like the University of Miami of Ohio, the UC Bearcats. They do their gymnasiums and schools. There's logos all over the place. So he owns an heirloom framing store in Fairfield, and he allows me, out of the courtesy of his heart, to do my bobblehead release parties there.
So I have one question, and Mark, I apologize that I am just completely.
No, I have two questions. I'm going to jump in. So ask yours.
Yeah,
go ahead.
My big question is the Ken Riley thing. How did it go? Talking to his dad, and also, you know, what? How can somebody here get a Ken Riley bobblehead? I mean, obviously it's CincyBobs.com, but I don't know if there's any kind of special thing you want to do, or I don't know.
Absolutely. So I got to meet Ken Riley live in 2017 before he passed. He couldn't have been nicer. He, you know, sometimes when you go to these paid events, you go through the line and they kind of tend to push you through. But Ken he literally took the time to contact and interact with each person that came through the line. And I just respected it more and more. And although I never was alive during his playing years, I decided, like, you know what, this is hands down probably one of the nicest, highly respectable sports figures I've ever met in my life. And it was a no-brainer when I decided to make CincyBobs a company that Ken Riley was going to be our second release. And he unfortunately passed before I could do it. So he wasn't around for this or his Hall of Fame bid, which I hope he makes. But I did get in contact with Ken Riley Jr. He was actually really flattered. He said that his father has no Bengals memorabilia out there. They never really took, the poster or the pennant or a cup even, so he said, I have some of my dad's actual playing items from like a couple like the interception balls and a helmet. He's got a jersey, but he said, I would be flattered to have a bobblehead. So they came in stock, and before we even released it, we sent a case 12 down to him for his mom and himself and his family, and he was highly appreciative. So that was a really cool experience. And he thanked me like immediately. He's such a great guy, and that's just a really amazing family. And I really hope that we can get Ken Riley in the NFL Hall of Fame, and at least they can enjoy it, because it's long overdue.
He deserves to be there. Go, Mark.
Yeah, well, we had talked about how he should be. Both Ken should have been in a long time ago. The event that if you look right over my shoulder, you're going to see a throwback throwback helmet there. That helmet signed by Ken Riley, Ross Browner, and Lamar Parrish. It's that signing where Josh met Ken Riley. So it's funny. We were talking and I said, wait a second, he told me who he also met that day. I said, wait a second, I have a helmet because I saw the event on Facebook and immediately wrote in and said, I want all three guys in the same helmet. Make it happen. Here's my credit card. So it's sitting right here. So it's it's the biggest small world. You know what I mean?
You're like, well, I don't care what the cost is.
Oh no! You got those three guys. I watched all three play. You got those three guys. Lamar Parrish was one of my favorite corners. Ken Riley, amazing safety. Like I said, to have all three of them in the same place, that's a no-brainer. I want to remind everybody, first of all, CincyBobs also has a Facebook page, so you can go there and you can get all the information there on the releases, and that'll come up on your time. He's doing posts all the time, and I started talking to Josh because he sets aside an amount of every run for out-of-state fans. Hello, Los Angeles.
We talked about this on our last show.
Yeah, so get in touch with him. I immediately reached out to him on Instant Messenger on Facebook and said, hey, or I don't know if we did email, but immediately said, hey, I want to be part of that lot that you have. Willing to pay my way, but I want to get one of these Riley bobbleheads, which is right over the shoulder there. We showed it. So he does that. I want you to tell the story so then you started talking to players. You talked to Ken Anderson, but you had the whole Ken Anderson. So tell that story that you told me.
Yeah. So to go on what you just said, touch on that real quick. There's 288 of every bobblehead. We keep the number kind of low because we want this to be a collectible. We could always go on and do a second version or whatever, but like we want there to be some exclusivity to our fans that are diehard collectors. And that's why we keep the number under 300.
Good.
So after Munoz, after Ken Riley, the third and fourth release, we're going to be Tim Crumry and they're going to be Ken Anderson. So in order, like I said, I made a promise to myself that we're going to meet with each one of these players. So I contacted the Ken Anderson Alliance, which is Ken Anderson's foundation. They deal with adults with disabilities. And they let me know on Cinco de Mayo that Ken Anderson was going to be in town. He was throwing a Mexican buffet for the fans and for the volunteers.
Well, of course he was.
His organization. And they told me this was someone that represents him, said I could get about 10 minutes with him. I said, that's perfect. I need 2. So I get there, and what was supposed to be 5 minutes ended up being about an hour and a half to 2 hours of drinking beer with Kenny. Very, very cool experience. 16 Lots Brewery in Mason, Ohio does a Ken Anderson beer. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's called Ken Anderson's Day Drinking Lager. So Ken said, get him a beer. And he said, what do you drink? And I was like, well, you're drinking the Ken Anderson beer. I will drink the Ken Anderson beer. He said, never mind, to the woman that worked his foundation. He said, those are in my cooler. I was like, Kenny, I don't want to drink a beer. He said, don't worry about it. I got about 400 of them. So he handed me a beer, and I drank a beer with Ken Anderson while we talked about this. Every time the garbage cans to my left, every time I finished a beer and threw it away, Kenny got out of his chair and got me another one. That just shows you like what a class act that this guy is.
So, I think it's funny. I don't mean to cut you off, Josh.
You're fine.
I think it's funny that, there's something about players from Cincinnati and the lack of respect that goes towards them, that makes them even more humble and even more like they're
Accessible.
people. They're
They're
people.
accessible.
People.
They're real. They're accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Lapham, you talk about Anderson, you talk about, all these guys that are like, I mean, even honestly, even as big as he's gotten, and not that I always agree with him, but even like somebody like Boomer is and Collinsworth are like really, really accessible, like Mark said, in the Cincinnati market. And it doesn't surprise me at all that you sat down and had a beer with Kenny Anderson.
Yeah, it's been the highlight of my year, to be honest. I was fanboying, but you also try to portray like I'm running a company, so I have to be, So inside, I'm like, this is insane. I'm drinking beer with a potential, the greatest Bengals quarterback of all time, but at the same time trying to.
And you're like, chill out, chill out, chill out.
So finish the story about the mustache and everything.
Okay. So what's been fun from this point on is now that I'm getting the players involved, they help me actually kind of design their bobblehead. They pick which pose they like, which colored jersey they wear. We have a Reggie Williams coming out later this year, and I'm like, Reggie, do you want to do white jersey, black jersey? You want fro or no fro? And this is all input that they actually give me, so it's been really fun. So between my friends and I, there was a joke, Kenny, mustache or no mustache, and I said, do we want to give Kenny with the porn stash or Kenny with no porn stash? But that's something privately I say. I would never tell Kenny that, right? So he's going through the pictures and he's like laughing, and he goes, they have one of me with my famous porn stash, is how he says it. And he goes, that's what I want, but we'll never get it past my wife. So we call her over and she looks at all of them and she goes, really, guys, the porn stash? And we're all dying laughing because now they're a part of our inside joke. And I said, right there, I'm calling it. I'm waving the flag. We're doing Kenny with the porn stash, and Kenny got it.
Yes.
What a great story.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. That is phenomenal.
So we have Tim Crumrye. This bobblehead will be released on August the 20th at Heirloom Framing. It'll immediately go on sale on CincyBobs.com after the event at 4:00. And then I don't have an exact date yet because Kenny's going to sign all these bobbleheads. But sometime in mid-September, the Ken Anderson bobblehead will go on sale on CincyBobs.com.
All right.
Can I ask you, Josh? Do you have? Is there? And forgive me if you've already done this, but is there an Ocho Cinco plan in the future, or have you already done one?
We have not done an Ocho Cinco plan, and as I said, I really only like to do projects at this point of guys I've spoken to. I can tell you that I've reached out, but I have not heard anything back yet. So
gotcha.
We do have, like I said, it ended up being in June of 2021. This was an Anthony Munoz bobblehead that I was releasing to sell to people. And now it's Christmas of 2023, which is about a year and a half away. We have about 50 different projects coming out of people that we've talked to that are signed, sealed, and delivered. So it's getting pretty big. It's been a lot of fun. I can't even tell you how thankful I am and grateful I am, but people really like this. They really are big fans. We get a lot of great feedback. When I announce one's coming out, people, they do anything they can. Like, how do I get one? Can I prepay? Can I do this? And I'm not allowed to do that because of the manufacturer asks that I play by, the rules that they have set forth. So from this point on, I'm not really allowed to do that or show like original artwork until it's in hand. But people are really, going out of their way to make sure they lock up the next release. And it's been a really cool experience.
Well, they look great. And Mark, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you can put me down for a signed Kenny and a signed Crumry. When you need the money, a credit card, PayPal, whatever you want. It's on your way, because we need one here in Los Angeles at Bengals Shrine West. That's what this has been coined. I have a friend who goes to training camp. There's Sam founded Bengals West. That's how we met, was when he lived here in Los Angeles. He founded the group that Bengal Jim went to, and everybody, was hanging out for the Super Bowl down here. That's where all the Bengal fans that couldn't go to the Super Bowl were. They were all up and down Colorado Boulevard, at Bengals West. So
if I could, you just made me think of something. So CincyBobs is I'm not keeping it exclusive to the Bengals, although this is a Bengals show. In Christmas of this year, we have 3 duels coming out. It's actually Joe Burrow with Joe Votto from the Reds,
Right.
Mr. Redlegs with Houday, Jonathan India with Jamar Chase as the rookies of the year.
And Votto and Burrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. So yeah,
I saw the pictures, man. They look so good.
Well,
we do have a couple of bobbleheads coming out. I can't really announce yet, but there will be some Cincinnati Bearcats, Xavier Musketeers. I mean, it's really going to be a company that bases anything Cincinnati. So we got some really killer releases coming out.
that's awesome. Well, go to his Facebook page. He's on Twitter. Go to the website. And I think you have a giveaway if the people go to the website. There you go. So why don't you tell them about that?
I do. So as I said, these bobbleheads are limited to 288. The Anthony Munoz was our first release. It's sold out. This is our second release. It's Ken Riley. There's about maybe 20 of these left. I do have one right here, though, that I've kept specifically for a giveaway, and I'm going to do it with today's show for you guys having me out. If you go to www.cincybobs.com, it'll say subscribe now. If you go ahead and subscribe, my man Ken Riley, ward number 13, the 13th person that views this, that goes and subscribes, I will have your information, and then I will let Mark know. And on one of their Mark and Sam's next episodes, we'll tell you guys who that was, and I will find a way to get this bobblehead to you for absolutely no cost to you. We're going to give this away for free. Just
to remind everybody, CincyBobs.com.
Yes.
Get on there right now.
Right.
You got to be the 13th person, and you're going to get a free exclusive bobblehead.
Yeah.
That's
I'll mail it right to your door.
And I will message you as soon as the video's up. So if that's where the clock starts ticking. So you start counting. I'll message Josh as soon as I upload this later today. If you're one of the first 13, there you go.
By the way, everybody, all of you guys got to race me.
So yeah.
You guys all got to race me because I want it.
Yeah. So
luckily, I believe it only
subscribe afterwards because I've got mine already. Well, right there it is. So
because Sam will be 13 times the next 10 minutes.
Right? Yeah, I'm already on here now.
He's got to run to 13 different computers. It's like to register. He's got to have different IP address, different email.
Hey, Mark and Josh, just as long as we're here, since it is the kickoff training camp, can we talk about, one or two of the news items real quick?
That's exactly where we're headed. So let's go through them. I've got a list of stuff. I think we'll hit all of them. I'm not going to surprise you with any of this news. My first one is just a general comment. Baker got traded to Carolina, and they're going to be facing the Browns in week 1, which made that a much more interesting week 1 game because I fully believe Baker is going to win the starting job there. They're talking up Sam Darnold so they could trade him, so they have something to recover. But what I love the most is if Baker goes in and beats the Browns have to pay him almost $600,000 of his game check. I love that.
For a loss.
I love that. So I don't know what his game check is, but the first $588,000 are coming right from Haslam's checkbook. So to me, that's great news. That's a win-win. You can have the Browns lose, and the Browns have to pay the guy who beat them. Obviously, we started talking about the Kens. Both made the list of 12. They got cut down. Wasn't that today?
It was today.
Yeah, the list of
230.
25 to 12. So they're both there. Only 3 guys are getting in. So we know we're not going to get both Kens in this year. But we got both to the 12. So I got to think one of them gets in. The league knows we're underrepresented there, or the Hall of Fame. Everybody knows.
Well, and it's worth mentioning that, the same reason that they never got in before is the exact reason they might get in now. They didn't get in before because we were Cincinnati.
Right.
But now one of them might get in because we're Cincinnati.
Yeah. Well, and the team's been more proactive. We talked about the Ring of Honor. That should have been done 20 years ago.
The social media is just phenomenal.
Yeah. So Willie Anderson and Isaac Curtis got added to the Ring of Honor. but this is exactly it. Both Kens need to be in there. I expect that we'll get the other Ken in, in the next year or two, maybe by next year, because they both should have been in already.
Well, I think one's going to expire, isn't it? Isn't Riley going to expire?
I don't know. I think Riley gets in. I think we've had enough noise from Mel Blount and people outside. Colleagues on other teams have said, "Why is this guy not in?"
But
we have a Steeler advocating for him to get in.
What I mean is, I think there's still a. Am I wrong here? Is it not like the MLB Hall of Fame?
I'm not sure, but my belief, and I hate to say this, is as time goes on and the rules have changed to the NFL, I think it gets a little harder for Kenny Anderson. That's why I'm kind of praying he gets in, because as these quarterbacks come with these insane numbers, now you have all these quarterbacks, the Drew Breeses, and people are debating, what is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer, 2 Super Bowl wins, and Kenny looks smaller, in my opinion, just my opinion, as to where it's harder on defensive backs to even get interceptions in this league with all the rules. So players are playing their whole career not even getting to 40, and you got Ken Riley sitting there with 65. So just my opinion once again, but I think Kenny Riley's argument gets easier as time goes on.
I mean,
he did it with
Riley just destroys everybody else's numbers at that position.
He did it in a 14-game season. And he did it in an era where they didn't throw the ball 50 times. They didn't have all the rules protecting the offense, and that's when he did all that. So to me, that's like a guy getting 80 in today's game.
Yes. And I agree with Josh's opinion about Anderson too, because it's one of those situations where, as the league has expanded and the number of games has expanded, your numbers kind of look smaller. But at the same time, you kind of want them to take a step back and say, was this guy a winner? Because Kenny Anderson was a winner.
Yeah.
He owned it. You know what I mean? Maybe his numbers aren't as good as everybody else's, but man, that guy, he was a winner.
He set a ton. That Super Bowl, he set the consecutive completion mark. I mean, there were a lot of records he put up, and they were broken, but at the time, he's definitely deserving of being there. But I do agree that his resume gets tougher and tougher, where Riley's will stand the test of time.
We'll just look at the orange helmet that says Bengals on the side. Who do you think of? I think of Kenny Anderson.
I had a poster of Ken Anderson standing there, and I wish I hadn't touched it, because when they went to the new helmets, I drew stripes on the helmet, which made the poster worthless. But I had that on my closet door growing up. That was my Kenny Anderson poster. I had that one, and I had one of Coy Bacon coming around the end. So trying to make a sack. So
all right, what else? What else we got?
All right. Well, we'll touch on a couple small things. Logan Wilson and McPherson got married, not to each other. They each married their girlfriends. But they both got married while we had the time off. So we've got those two guys. Burrow made the top 10 QBs on the power rankings. No surprise there.
But he also got his appendix removed.
So Burrow did get his appendix removed.
Everybody's freaking out about, and I'm like, dude, this
guys, Roethlisberger did it in the regular season. He was out a week. No big deal.
Thing.
Yeah, it's nothing. We're selling the naming rights to PBS Stadium. So, and I know that there's some hopes that it's like if they, that it's more of the such and such field at Paul Brown Stadium, or somehow they keep the Paul Brown in there.
I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be the blank field at Paul Brown Stadium.
So, but they are looking to do that, which I love seeing, because it shows me that the Brown family realizes you've got to capitalize on every type of monetizing and every cash flow you could possibly get. You're going to need money to pay these guys. Why not put a name, have it be the such and such red zone and all these different things. So
listen, I mean, let's be completely honest. If it's Citi Field at Paul Brown Stadium, how often are you actually going to hear Citi Field? You're probably not.
every time they announce
this
it
is
going
the
in.
easiest money you have ever
Absolutely.
made in your life.
And just as a comment, the Steelers fans are all in an uproar about Heinz Field. Heinz ketchup, which I know is a local business.
Yeah,
to
but isn't
Pittsburgh.
that awesome though? It's
Oh, I
so
do. I
awesome.
love them when they get all riled up. But Heinz Field, okay. Heinz paid, I think, an average of, they signed like a 20-year deal. And they paid an average of like $2.5 million a year. I think it was $50 million for the whole thing. Okay. When this contract expired, Heinz wasn't going to do $10 million a year, but the company that they did do $10 million a year. That's where it has gotten to. So I think they're calling it the Heinz Red Zone now, but Heinz, the ketchup bottles are gone because this company's not paying $10 million a year to have Heinz ketchup bottles there. But I just love the whole uproar, and that's why Heinz didn't do it. You can get like 10 million a year for your name on the field. So
Josh, what do you think about the field?
Well, I think I have it on good authority that this is a lot of pressure from the other 31 owners as well. Everyone does this. It's time that the Bengals are doing a lot of things with the Ring of Honor and all the things they've done for the fans, but they're doing a great like fan connection. But at the same time, they're learning a lot of like the real business of where the NFL is going. And I think there's a lot of pressure from the other 31 owners because they have revenue share to get this deal done with somebody because there's money missing that we can contribute to the pool. I was told that it's going to be more like Kettering Stadium, like CBS comes on. All right. So here's the pitch. Welcome to beautiful Paul Brown Field at Kettering Stadium is how I was told that it'll kind of be, but it'll, in the end, it'll be an oversight. I mean, it's best from where we're going. I believe this team is going to win championships. I believe that we're going to be the team of the decade of the 2020s. And I think that at the end of the day, right now, it's a big deal for us fans because we have tradition. That's all we can hang on to. But I think where we're going, this will be an afterthought.
Yeah. And we're going to get a big company. We're going to get a big company because of the fact that we're going to be, with Burrow and this team we have, we're going to be on Monday nights. We're going to be on Sunday nights. We're going to be in the postseason. I mean, so just because we're a small market team, the naming rights are going to get constantly mentioned on television. And that's why
I think there's
puts us on another playing field.
I think there's something to be said also in, you see this in baseball all the time and oftentimes in football as well, where well, Mark, you're a perfect example. Like you still say the San Diego Chargers.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
I said Oakland Raiders the other day. I caught myself halfway through Oakland.
How many times has a guy gone on TV and said, the San Diego Chargers over and over again? I think it's the same kind of thing to say we're at Paul Brown Stadium.
Well, that's why I think you're going to do the Paul Brown Field at whatever the company is stadium.
But will they say it?
I don't know.
I think they'll say we're here at Paul Brown Stadium,
especially
over and over again.
When the local announcers do the preseason, you'll hear.
Oh yeah, they'll slip more than anybody.
Yeah,
because you'll get the big network announcers. They just come in for that game.
Yeah, Dave Lapham he'll never not say Paul Brown Stadium.
It's how many years of ingraining? That's the problem. Probably took him 2 years to stop saying Riverfront. They built the stadium.
Could not agree more.
Yeah. So all right, and then the last. This is still two other things that are just minor items where Bengals applied for the Ohio betting license. So congratulations. Although I think you can still bet on your phone. It's where the server is. California is still trying to figure it out, and I still have no problem betting. So, and then we announced our white helmets, which I like. That's our alternate helmet. We have so many teams going with black helmets that, the Falcons have a black helmet. The Saints have a black helmet. I really like the look of the white helmet. So I would like to get a third helmet where we can do our throwback with the Bengals down your side, but we're not there yet.
I think what's interesting about that, and I'd be interested to hear Josh's take on this too, is I'm pretty sure in order to do the white helmet, we have to make our white jersey an alternate again. Whereas last year we wore it very, very often, and the orange actually was our alternate. So I'm thinking that we're going back to orange and black, and the white is going to be the alternate just so they can wear the helmet. And I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I really liked the white jerseys.
I think it's going to be awesome. Josh can do a color rush. Well, we would have called a color rush. Now it'd be an alternate bobblehead with the white helmet, white jersey.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because something's in the works about that. Absolutely. Something around maybe the Super Bowl if we get there. But
when we get there.
When we get there. Sam, you're right though. I do understand that they had to make this the new alternate jersey to accommodate the rule to have the white helmet. So I believe
it's the color rush now, whereas before orange was the alternate.
Right.
Yep.
So I don't understand why the NFL, because there's so much money in merchandising. You know, Oregon has like 75 combinations between helmets, pants, jerseys. They have so many different combinations. You've got fans that own 20 jerseys just to have, you know, be able to do the different combinations. So I just wish, I don't know what the restriction is, why they don't just open the floodgates and say all teams can have 3 helmets and you can have, because you can make all these different combinations. Why hold back?
And it's not even just Oregon. Look at like a smaller school, Maryland.
Yes.
Maryland has ridiculous helmets and jerseys.
Yeah, they have that. They have one that rivals the B, the Pittsburgh
and I'm like,
B.
dude, nobody even cares about this team, but you're going nuts. And that's a shout out to all the Baltimore fans that are watching.
I'm glad you said that, Sam. My wife walked in one day. I was watching a Maryland game, and she, without missing a beat, she walks by and goes, "Those are hideous." And she takes it to the kitchen. 10 minutes pass. My best friend shows up to come over and watch some football. He walks in, takes one look at the TV, and he goes, "Man, Maryland's uniforms are fire today." So, I mean, it's where's the scale, you know? Like,
that jersey, I know the jersey you're talking about, and there's no middle ground there.
Yeah.
You're either going to say, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, or you're going to look at it just like the Steeler Bumblebee and go, what the hell is he wearing? Or the Broncos have a jersey that's just as ugly too, you know, an old throwback. So,
well, even the Packers jersey, like as a throwback, it's kind of cool. When they wear the what is it? It's like blue, and they're wearing all green or all yellow on top.
You know,
and even that, sometimes you can appreciate that a team is really throwing it back.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Packers, like they look like they're wearing leather helmets.
Yeah. Well, you know, when that jersey,
you're just like, I don't really know if you should have gone there.
When that jersey was developed, you got to remember it's 1920. You're talking about taking a picture where you have the huge explosion of gunpowder to light it. You know, and there's no TV, right?
Yeah, but my argument, Mark, is that shouldn't be brought back.
No, I agree.
It shouldn't be brought back.
Okay. Now we're going to go ahead.
This Eagles uniform with the yellow and the baby blue, I don't know what it is, man. That's my all-time worst.
Yeah. And you know what? One of my favorites is, I have to say, at Chargers. I'm not even going to say the city, but those powder blues are nice. Those powder blue jerseys were nice. Growing up in the 70s, that was a beautiful jersey.
The same with the classic Tampa Bay and the classic Patriots.
Yeah.
Those are solid jerseys.
The Patriots are bringing theirs back, so that's one of their jerseys. Yes, the Steve Grogan Patriots one you saw in the Bears Super Bowl, that jersey's on its way back. So.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is too, I think.
Yeah,
I believe.
All right, now we're going to get into a couple items that have a little more meat in them. We had the Mike Brown presser where he talked about Burrow is the #1 priority, which we all know. I mean, and so it sounds like they're gonna be trying to give him a contract at the end of this year, which we've said before that on this show they absolutely should do, just like they did with Mahomes. First opportunity to get him paid, you get him paid.
Yeah,
you don't use the fifth year option. You do it way before that. So
I mean, he's the reason that we're sold out this year.
Yes,
he's the reason.
But the biggest problem for the Bengals, and we're going to get into Bates in a second, this will segue us over, is the funding rule. That's the biggest problem. For people who don't know, when you guarantee a contract, you have to take every penny of guarantee and you have to put it in an escrow account. So that's why the Bengals are hesitant, because they literally, if they guarantee somebody 50 million, they have to have 50 million sitting in an escrow account. They're not going to be able to do a 230 million guaranteed type of contract. So they're going to have to get creative with Burrow. I'm hoping that Burrow is more like Mahomes, more like Brady, where, he says, hey, okay, 48 million a year, 50 million a year, whatever it is, he's not concerned about. We're getting to such insane numbers that what's the difference between making 50 and 53? I mean, is that going to change your world?
Well, I think the upside is that he's from here.
Yeah.
So that helps, I think, a lot. And that
Great
his
point.
family is here and that his girlfriend is here. Or is it fiance? I don't remember. So I think that's gonna help a lot.
I think so too. And I also think that the Bengals are going to come up with something, because they don't have the Jerry Jones type of bank account where they can do that kind of stuff. So I think they come up with something to where they guarantee him increases based on how the salary cap increases. There'll be something to that. And this is just me talking. I didn't read this anywhere, but what about if you said, okay, you know what? We're going to give you a percentage of ownership when you retire, even if it's only 1%. These teams are going to be worth a ridiculous amount of money. They're already worth billions. So, I mean, if you said, hey, when you retire, you get, 1% or whatever. I don't know how it all works. I don't know how it all pays out, but they can make him a minority owner when he retires. They might do something to that. They're going to have to think outside the box, because they're not going to be able to do a Deshaun Watson kind of contract. They're not going to be, not that, and I don't even think the Browns should have done that kind of contract. I think the owners are pissed off, but I think they're going to have to get creative. Katie's going to get creative.
Talk to Josh.
So I think they're going to get creative. That's just my thinking. So, but I liked what I heard from Mike Brown saying that, that this is the number one priority. We'll get this done. So one way or another.
I'm actually not worried about the Joe Burrow contract, because like Sam said, he's from here. I think he really does want to be here. It's every other contract after that gets my meter moving at all. You know what I mean? Like where do we cut,
Right.
So,
well, Higgins is going to be the biggest one. I think it's going to be an issue is Higgins and Boyd. Okay. I don't know what we're going to have left for Boyd. Now, he already got his second payday. So hopefully maybe he wants to give a little discount to stick around. It's going to be tough, because we've got to not only do Higgins, then we've got to do Chase the next year. And
Logan Wilson on the defense.
So there's a lot of mouths that we need to get in there. And that's why I was hoping kind of maybe Burrow would take a 48 million a year or 50 million a year, get creative on the ownership end, take it on the back end as a bonus kind of thing, because clearly we couldn't get Bates signed because of the guaranteed money. We just couldn't. Right. They were only willing to do 17 million, which is only 4 million over the 13 that he's going to make as a franchise player. And I know they wanted to get it there because they have to already put the 13 million in escrow this year. Once he signs a franchise tag, the 13 million goes in an escrow account because it's fully guaranteed. And I think they were just trying to avoid, getting into the 30, 40, 50 million dollars, because like I said, they just they can't put those kind of checks. I wish the NFL would change the funding rule. Why couldn't the guarantee be a lien? You know what I'm saying? Right. It's not like these teams, they're not carrying huge loans and they're worth billions. So why couldn't there be a $50 million lien on the team? Something, but they didn't change the funding rule. And I think you have the owners that have the money that won't vote for that change.
And for your viewers that don't know, and I'm sure some may, but T. Higgins and Jesse Bates have the same agent. So that will definitely, his agent's probably going to be gunning like, we had to let Jesse go, so you're going to work with me on this one. So T. Higgins might be a very hard close, in my opinion, when we get to that point.
Well, obviously Burrow is the priority, and obviously Chase is going to be the priority. It's funny how you see the copycat. I talked about the coaching hirings, how this is a copycat league. because we copied getting a young, unproven coordinator who basically was only a coordinator for half a season. He was a quarterback coach on the Rams. But we took a chance and we did it. And now, how many college coaches did you see get hired by the NFL this year? None. They were all unproven coordinators because it's a copycat league. People saw what Zach did. Well, the same thing goes with the receivers. Marquise Brown getting traded to Kyler Murray. Hey, if Joe Burrow and Chase can do this, let's reunite Kyler with his receiver.
I thought we were going with like the Joe Judges and the other, that was, I guess that was 2 years ago now, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so they we copied. Listen, we were not Sean McVay, what's his face at McDermott at Buffalo. We copied that, and so we went for it. And now with Zach doing what he did, all the new coaches, everybody. But I saw it this year with the receivers. Reuniting receivers with quarterbacks, and the marquee one was Brown reunited with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, because at that point now you have the chemistry. All you have to do is teach the system, and that's a great move.
Yeah, and like I said, we saw the chemistry with Burrow and Chase. I mean, that was just.
I apologize for jumping on this argument, but I don't know. I don't think Arizona is a really good example.
Well, no, I was just talking about teams reuniting. I think they gave up their first round pick to get Marquise Brown over to the team. Right. Yeah, so they're saying
I'm not really impressed with what Cliff Kingsbury is doing right now.
No, but I was just talking about getting Marquise Brown reunited with Kyler Murray. They're looking at Chase and Burrow and saying, "Hey, why not?" I mean, let's get him his favorite target. So let's get into Bates. We were talking about it. They only offered $4 million over. We don't have a great history with re-signing guys off the franchise tag. So I think Bates plays for us this year, but I got to think this is, especially if Hill, really flashes like we think he's going to flash. I think this is Bates, and it's a shame because I wanted him to get rewarded, but.
Yeah, they number one, they completely undersold him. They completely undercut him. I'm not saying that he should have been Minka Fitzpatrick money, because Pittsburgh overpaid big time for Minka. But at the same time, I still think they undercut him. But I agree with you. I think he will absolutely play this year because that's what you do in a contract year. You play. You don't just sit out, because when you sit out, everybody forgets about you.
Well, just look at Le'Veon Bell and ask him how that worked out for him.
Exactly.
He did get his payday with the Jets, so he did get a huge chunk because I think he signed like a $50 million contract with 28 or 30 guaranteed. So he got a payday, but his career was not what it could have been. He was on track to be a great one. And,
Josh, what do you think about Bates?
I will say that, in some situations where these things type of things tend to happen, we do have one foot forward in the fact that we did draft Dax Hill, and he's taken all these first team reps throughout mini camp and all of training camp. And the more and more that Jesse sits out, he's allowing this guy to gain that experience with the ones and develop the chemistry with people that he will actually be playing with. So I do think that it's beneficial for us that if Jesse does miss significant time, this guy is getting some crucial experience that's going to be good for us.
Good point.
Yeah, but don't you also think that as soon as Jesse Bates wants to walk through that door, he's going to walk through that door and immediately get the job?
100%. But as a rookie, I mean, you come in and learn the system with the twos. That's just how the business works. But I mean, for him to get this experience, I mean, that's great for him. I mean, he's in the show right now, so
it's a win-win for both of us. Hey, it's a different situation than like Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's showing up for less than $4 million. That's why he's doing what he's doing. He's like, I'm not going to risk injury. He was such a huge part of their offense, for $4 million that he'd be making this year. Jesse Bates is still going to be making like $13 million. That's more than $1 million a month. So you don't walk away from that. So, but I understand it. And I wish we had gotten something done. I really do. Let's get into the Lael Collins and Kappa injuries. Now, I heard Kappa is not as bad, and he could be back in a few weeks. You were telling me Lael Collins is a back, so
Yeah, I think it's a little concerning because for an offensive lineman, a back injury is not good. For a lot of other players, even running backs or wide receivers, they can have a bad back and sit out a couple weeks. But for an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, a lower back injury is not good. Like that's not promising. And you're talking about a guy that's probably going to be or is supposed to be our right guard. Um, and was kind of a big signing. So, I think that's a little that's pretty concerning. I think anybody that's kind of writing it off as reading the news and saying, "Oh, he'll be fine," I think they're kidding themselves.
well, I've heard glass half empty, glass half full. So Raytheon reported that if the season were to start today, Collins could start. So that's your glass half full. But if it's lower back, then Goodberry reports that this is going to be something they're managing all year.
Yeah,
So, which is kind of more believable to me, if given that it's a back injury.
Yeah, I told you before we started today. I think that if the Super Bowl was tomorrow, he'd play. You know what I mean?
Right.
But week 1 is coming up, and I don't see that at all.
You don't think he's starting week 1?
No.
I think he might be. I just don't think he's going to see much action in preseason. I don't think they're going to, and they might spell him. So,
well, nobody sees much action in preseason.
Well, yeah, and you know what? It's okay. Last year we should listen. Burrow didn't play anything in the preseason. And everybody, it's these players when they had all the preseason games, and you think they used to have 6 preseason games. Back when it was a 14-game schedule, they played 6 preseason games. They needed 6 preseason games because these players, when the season ended, emptied their lockers, went home, drank beer. No one worked out at home. No one trained in the offseason. So they would come back, and you would need 6 games at a long camp to get them ready. These players, there's no offseason anymore. They stay in shape, they train, they get together and work out. It's a different era of football. And a lot of that has to do with the amount of money they make. But we don't need any preseason games. We really don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jesse Bates isn't going to play a preseason game. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, but we're not going to see Burrow. Burrow will see limited stuff in preseason, if any. Collins won't play at all. Kappa might not play at all. But these guys are veteran guys. So I'm holding out. I'm going in the middle. I'm holding out hope Collins starts opening day on the right side of our line. And then I just want to see like Volson and stuff.
You just like him because he got a tattoo.
He did get it. He got an awesome tattoo. So Josh has some ink under his arm there. I got my baby there. It's all good. Sam, you gotta jump into the fray. It's time. It's off season. I'll see. There's got to be some good artists in the Cincinnati area.
I gotta get permission from the girl.
So let her pick it out. She could location too. So Josh, that's all I had. Did you guys have anything?
Get in there. Go ahead. What do you think about that? What do you think about Lael? What do you think about the offensive line?
I can't really get too concerned yet. I feel like Mike Brown has a history of like that whole organization, like any free agent that they spend big money on sneezes in the wrong direction. It's like, shut them down. So I'm not going to press the panic button until I see, Mike Brown treats these players like cars sometimes. He's the nicest owner in the world, but when they invest money, it tends to let's shut it down. They don't worry about training camp too much. I think he goes week 1. I think we'll be all right.
So we'll see. All right.
Yeah, I mean, if he does, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, but like I said, I do think Goodberry's probably right in that this is one of those things they're going to watch his play count. If it gets sore, they're going to be spelling him. So if Volson can really perform, we can get in a good rotation and maybe spell him throughout the year and keep him for the critical push.
I guess maybe it's the jaded part of me
All of us.
In Cincinnati. That is when everybody says it's a minor injury, but all of a sudden it turns into a year-long injury.
Well,
Or
And
Chris
I
Henry never played again on an ankle. You know, it's you never know.
or Cordy Glenn, who had a concussion and we never saw him again, was like, okay, you know. So I get it. You know what? There's a certain neuroses to being a Bengal fan, and we got it from years and years and years of abuse.
Too.
So
It's Cincinnati sports too. I don't know what it is about this town, but you know, you get a third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, and I'll be like, he'll be out 2 weeks. Next thing you know, he didn't play for the rest of the year.
right. Yeah.
It's just, you're right in saying neuroses.
Yeah, no, it comes from years and years of disappointment and conditioning. You know, Josh and I had a whole conversation about the Jeremy Hill fumble and all that. You know, there's just you sat there this season going, when Carr was driving at the end of the game, and you're going, oh no, you know, and then Pratt stepped in and shut the door on that. But you still, as a Bengal fan, you were like, no, we can't grab defeat from the jaws of victory again. Right. You know, no, we can't do that. So like I said, that's just years of conditioning. So all right, well, you guys have anything else? Or I think we covered a lot of stuff. We went for a lot.
I think we covered, well, how long we've been on here? An hour and a half?
An hour. This has been by far our longest show. So, but you know what? Josh had such good stories. You should be our longest show. So, all right.
Happy to be here, guys.
With that said, CincyBobs.com, Facebook page. And remember, I'm going to text him as soon as this uploads, and the 13th person that subscribes at CincyBobs.com gets that Ken Riley bobblehead.
That's right. And you got to race me, guys.
You got to race Sam, because he's
don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button.
It's all we ask. Subscribe to the channel, please. Just support the channel.
And go to CincyBobs and subscribe there.
Excellent. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll see how the news goes. We'll be back with as we see players starting to emerge in training camp. We'll do another show. Josh, I'm hoping comes back and we do other shows. I told him our preview schedule, our recap. He's welcome. You have an open door policy. You can join us any day you want. You want to come in.
Thanks for having me on.
No, you're awesome. You're awesome. This is by fans for fans, and I can't think of a bigger fan than Josh, who went and had custom bobbleheads made because they didn't make them.
Yeah.
So he said, damn it, I'm going to make my own. And so that's the origin of CincyBobs. So, all right, well, with that,
Josh, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, with that, I'm going to say, hoo-day, everybody.
Hoo-day.
Take care.